will then ask for public comment. Please state and spell your name clearly if you are here to speak for or against a project. Your time will be limited to 3 minutes, so take some time now to summarize your comments because 3 minutes goes by very quickly. Following public comment, the commissioners will ask questions in the same order as the presentation. Next, the applicant will have 5 minutes for rebuttal. The public hearing will then be closed. After the public hearing is closed, no further testimony can be given. The commissioner will then decide the case and will make their decision based on Chapter 27 of the City Code of Ordinances, the design guidelines, the Secretary of Interior standards, Historic Preservation Development Review Committee comments, and the testimony given at the public hearing. The ARC can only act on items that are within our specific jurisdictional responsibility. Owner agents are independently responsible to obtain any appropriate permits and/or approvals. If you haven't already done so, please silence cell phones. And I'd like to introduce, the commissioners, starting on my left.
Eleanor Paris Ketchum.
John Prokop, I practice architecture.
Brian Hammond, architect.
And with us today, we have Dennis Fernandez, Heather Bonds, Alexis Guzman, and attorney Dana Crosby Collier. Let's see. Can we do announcements?
Minutes.
Oh, that's right. We're looking for a motion to approve. Can we approve both sets of minutes at the same time? Yep. So the July 8th and the July 10th minutes.
I move to approve the July 8th and July 10th, 2024 minutes.
Great. Looking for a second.
Second.
All right, we have a second. Any comments? Seeing no comments, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Good evening, Commissioners. Dennis Fernandez, Architectural Review and Historic Preservation Manager. Welcome to this evening's public hearing. Did want to begin by letting you know that we do have our reoccurring newsletter, Bricks and Mortar, that is in your packet. That is a monthly publication that we put out and send out to a list of our clients and the interested parties that have requested to receive that. If you care to receive that digitally, let us know. We can send that to you digitally as well. I did want to make one announcement. Let me go to, let's see. The Interstate Historic Preservation Trust Fund is a fund that was established through Section 106 mitigation from the impacts of the interstate expansion in the city of Tampa. And with some of the proceeds from that mitigation, the city established a grant and a loan fund to offer to owners of historic properties. We have sort of revamped the program in recent months and now have put this out to be available for property owners. The eligible areas for participation is in the Tampa Heights, Ybor City, and West Tampa National Historic Districts. It is, as you deal with the local districts, this fund is actually attached to the National Register District boundaries. So interested applicants should be obviously an owner of a historic property, and the property must be their legal homestead. The grants that are available are up to $25,000 per project and include restoration of architectural details and structural stabilization. The current application deadline is August 28th at 3 p.m. and anyone interested can visit our website at tampagov.net or call our offices. Also being offered is the Historic Preservation Trust Fund Loan Program, which is geared for commercial properties, also located in Tampa Heights, Ybor City, and West Tampa National Register Historic Districts. The fund will offer up to a $400,000 loan per project for work including the restoration of architectural details, structural stabilization, relocation, and mothballing. And this is an open application cycle, so applications are currently being accepted. And once again, they are available at our website at tampagov.net. So with that, we'll move on to our monthly installment of Preservation in Progress, and Ms. Bonds will be presenting that today for you.
All right. Switch over to the PowerPoint. All right. Heather Bonds, Historic Preservation Specialist. This month's Preservation in Progress features one of the oldest fire station buildings in the city. The former Fire Station Number 2 is located in Ybor City. It is located mid-block on 8th Avenue between 13th Street and Avenida República de Cuba. Here's the 1892 Sanborn map. See, it's starred there. It's a brick building as shown on the Sanborn. A little background. The Murda Hook and Ladder Volunteer Fire Station was established in 1886. The first building to house the Murda was a wood frame structure adjacent to the 1886 brick Ybor Cigar Company factory. You can see that on the lower Sanborn map there. It's the yellow building just below the red brick Ybor building. It was a wood frame building there. When the Ybor factory complex was expanded in 1888, the Murda was moved to 8th Avenue. And this two-story brick vernacular building functioned as Tampa's Fire Station Number 2 until its replacement was built in 1924. It was later used as a cigar factory and warehouse, and Fire Station Number 2 is significant as the oldest remaining and only extant 19th century fire station in the city of Tampa. Some previous action. As you can see, the building had some unfortunate and inappropriate changes and was labeled non-contributing at the time of districting. An adaptive reuse project brought it back to its appropriate facade. We applied the Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation and brought the facade back, and it's now used for offices. And that is this month's preservation progress. And you can also see it in our Tampa Bricks and Mortar newsletter if you want to read more about it as well. All right.
Thank you. I don't think it's by coincidence that that fire station was located right across the street from VM Ybor's factory complex. It was by design, so they wanted to make sure that that was taken care of. With that, we can move on to conflicts of interest and ex parte communication, and I'll ask our legal counsel to lead that discussion.
Hi, Dana Crosby Collier from the Legal Department. This evening, I'd like to ask if any member has a conflict of interest with any item on the agenda tonight.
No.
Okay, great. And has any member had an ex parte communication regarding an item on the agenda?
I have not.
Okay, thank you very much.
In that there are no continuations to be acted upon, we can now administer the swear-in. So if we could please stand and raise our right hand, Ms. Guzman will administer the swear-in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony provided today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we're ready for our case, and Heather will once again introduce the case.
PowerPoint, please. Okay. Heather Bonds, Historic Preservation Specialist. This case is for a Part 1 tax exemption request at 909 South Dakota Avenue. This program is an important tool that stimulates and revitalizes historic properties. It eases the burden of maintaining these properties. Eligible properties are designated local landmarks or historic properties in local historic districts, and the applications are reviewed respectively by the ARC or BLC. You've seen this project, I think, twice in the last few months. You have approved the new construction of the garage apartments and the rehabilitation work. Usually we try to have the tax exemption go along with it, but last month I think our agenda was quite full, so that's why you're hearing it separately tonight. I'll run through the photo presentation. 909 South Dakota is located on the west side of Dakota Avenue, mid-block between West Morrison and West Wastrous Avenues. The property is a contributing structure to the Hyde Park Historic District. From the 1929 Sanborn map, this shows the original footprint that has little change, and the original accessory structure, which has been demolished. You'll also notice that it has the open alley, which remains open today. Here's the front facade. The driveway on the north side of the property. From the north facade, you can see the consistent window pattern, overhangs, and front-facing gable roof. It also has a hipped roof, and the horizontal siding, all indicative of this vernacular style. This shows the wraparound porch. The narrow driveway on the north side of the lot. The rear yard space where a new accessory structure is proposed. Looking west at the rear facade, more of the rear facade, you can see the hipped roof there, and the open and active alley that will be utilized. The applicant will review the request for the ad valorem tax exemption. If you have any questions, I'm here to take them.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jim Lloyd with Lloyd Craftsman, representing the homeowners, my clients, Andrew and Kim Cox at 909 South Dakota Avenue. Appreciate you coming out on this nice dry day for this packed house. We've got a pretty good candidate here, I think, for the tax exemption. It's a contributing residential structure of the Hyde Park Historic District. It was owned by the Tanners of Tanner Paint for probably 50-ish years. The original structure was from 1907. There's been very minor interior changes. A lot of the existing, you'll see in the photos, a lot of the existing trim and details are still in the house currently. The kitchen was probably done in, maybe the 80s. It's terrible. The baths were done more modern style, which the clients are going to, bring back to something that's a little bit more historic in keeping with the house. The upper sleeping porch was enclosed. There's a large wraparound porch I think you saw in the pictures. Minimal exterior embellishments on this one, not a lot of gingerbread details like we see on some of the Hyde Park homes, but it's a cool house. And like I said, the trim details inside I think are really what sets this one apart from a lot of the other stuff that we've done in Hyde Park in the past. They wanted me to go over the floor plans first. So this is the existing floor plan. Let me get the projector. There we go. Perfect. Thank you. So that's the existing floor plan. Pretty standard layout. This is the proposed floor plan showing the area in orange that's going to be modified. So the kitchen will essentially stay in the same location, but just be enlarged. The back porch that's open right now will be enclosed and will become a breakfast area. And then there's a small addition for a mudroom behind the kitchen, and then a rear porch for them to be able to, hang out on the porch, and small outdoor kitchen on on the south side of the home. Excuse me, that's the existing second floor. Again, pretty standard layout. This was a sleeping porch that's been enclosed for another bedroom that was already there. And then this same thing, this is what's proposed for the second floor. Utilizing there's a bath and taking a little bit of space out of this room right now to create a laundry room upstairs. We are taking a couple of the windows out from the sleeping porch, but still keeping the exterior look of those windows just to be able to have room for a bed and a dresser in that room. The one bedroom is going to get modified for the bathroom, and then above where the mudroom is, there's going to be a walk-in closet on the second floor. Site plan. This is the proposed site plan showing the accessory structure that was already approved, the addition here that's already been approved, and how those interact. Shows the notch where we've taken where the addition is, so we can delineate new from old on this particular structure. This is the front or east elevation, existing and proposed. Not a significant change. The only thing that we've really done differently on this is remove this door here and placed a window in its place, same scale and size as what is next to it on the second floor, as well as lining up with there's an existing window on the first floor, so they'll match each other. And then they are going to potentially utilize some space on the third floor eventually, so we did add some fenestration on that. The rear elevation, again, going from the sleeping porch to the bedroom up there. This is a sill that's going to be continuous, so it'll keep that detail that's there, but then we'll just fill in between there with siding, and we'll be putting new JELD-WEN wood windows in to match the existing residence. And then there's some details showing the rear porch, the entry door that's coming in off the mudroom, or that's going out to the mudroom, and some French doors coming out from the breakfast area onto the porch. This is the south elevation. Again, just taking out the vents that are there and putting in a couple of windows. A little bit different detail on the porch railing, which I'll get into that. And then this is the north elevation. Again, showing basically everything staying similar to what we've got. They are mimicking there's a window that's on the south elevation that they're going to mimic in the mudroom, just to give them a little bit of light in there. And then there was some discussion at the last hearing about the size of these windows, but there are kitchen cabinets below. The headers do line up. This bump out is, or this bump in is actually 4 feet behind this wall here. And then again, the addition has the additional 6-inch offset. There's a section view. Again, showing the enclosed soffit to match existing. The engaged windows, JELD-WEN wood window. It's a 2.5-inch reveal Dolly Varden square lap siding. That will match a 1-inch by 4-inch trim band going around all the windows, and then the corner boards showing the same thing on the first floor as well. So that's all mimicking what's on the existing home. So getting into some photos here. So again, just a refresher, front of the house with the porch. Rear of the house. There's not an existing closure under the house, but we'll be adding that. I have a detail on what we're doing with that. All right, so some of the details of the home. It's the front porch. It's original to the house. Has wood flooring that's deteriorated on the ends due to water intrusion, and we'll replace the wood where necessary and refinish the porch to bring it back to its existing condition. This is the rear of the existing front porch as it wraps around. There's no railing there currently, which obviously presents a safety issue, so we'll be matching the detail on the front porch. Will match a small return on here, and then there'll be steps going down to go into the backyard. The rear of the house. It's an existing sleeping porch. It's still open to the open to the elements. This umbrella tree is going to be removed so that we can do foundation work there, so that we're not having any issues with it. There's actually a kink in the house right now where this is creating a situation, so we're going to repair this corner of the house, the structure there, to make that, to shore that up. Some of the existing joists have rotted from the water intrusion that's come in on this porch because this is screened as it is. So we're going to be repairing all this and taking care of whatever foundation work we need to address to make the home last hopefully another 100 years. These are the existing original windows on the house. Most of them are the original windows. A lot of them still have the original wavy glass. These are going to be rehabbed and made operational again. Any sashes beyond repair are going to be replaced with new cypress sashes, similar dimensions, so they'll look the same. They'll just be new and will last a little bit longer, hopefully, than what these had. But most of the windows there are actually in pretty good condition. This is the door to nowhere. We've kind of discussed this in the past, but we are going to take that out and replace that with a window. You can see the head height of that does not match what the original house was. This is debatable whether that was added or not, but this window that we put in here will match the other ones that'll engage the freeze board. Moving interior. Actually, that's just another photo from the inside, so you can kind of see how this looks a little off here because the window height doesn't match the door height. This shows the original Dolly Varden siding, 2.5-inch square lap siding. It's in various condition, but this is a commodity item that I can get. We'll be rehabbing as much of it as we can, so whatever's there, we're going to be scraping down, cleaning up, fixing, repainting. But if it's not in good condition, if it's rotted and too far away, we can get matching siding that'll go right in that you won't be able to tell that it's been replaced. There's also some foundation work that we're going to need to do. That's the original brick piers that we're going to replace and with additional brick piers. And that'll match on the additions as well. We'll be doing the same type of brick on there. That's the original hard pine flooring. This is the first floor. The first floor is surprisingly in better condition than the second floor. So this can be refinished, and then what we're going to end up doing, this is the second floor. And there's some other photos of it as well. It's been patched over the years, so it's not in great condition. So what we're going to try to do is we'll try to salvage whatever we can from the second floor and use it for patches on the first floor, because that will match. And then we'll source additional heart pine flooring for the second floor and just replace that whole thing, because there's enough termite damage in the wood that it's going to need to be done. So we won't be able to salvage everything from up there, but we'll save as much as we can from that second floor and be able to use it on the first floor. This is probably the coolest feature in the house. It's a pretty spectacular stairway going to the second floor with paneling details, paneled newel posts, some really cool detail balusters, a big fat handrail, which is typical of those homes in Hyde Park. So this will all be refinished, refurbished, and then we are also going to be recreating that same look, going from the second floor to the attic space as well. So there'll be a switchback stair going on the second floor as well, that will be matching these details on to get up there. There's not, the third floor space, the attic is, it's going to just be kind of an open room right now. There's enough space to be able to get up there, but there's not a plan to, have any kind of detail as far as what's going to be up there, but we do want to be able to put the stairs in there now for future use. There's another detail on that showing treads and risers, and then another shot of the balustrade. This is the balustrade on the second floor, overlooking the stairway. So this will stay, but then there'll be another set of stairs going up with a landing above, and the landing actually ends up above that leaded window that's on the second floor or on the first floor landing. So we'll be able to keep that in place and be above that with the landing going to the third floor. There's another photo of that. Similar style, as I said. This will be the area where you're going to be going up to the third floor section, coming back. These are some of the original pocket doors that are in the home. They'll be furbished, hardware cleaned up, make them work as they did originally. We've done a few of these on some of the other houses in Hyde Park. So they come out pretty well, and they operate much better than they used to. These are back-to-back fireplaces that are in the living area. This is not an original mantle. This was something that the clients had just leaned up there, but that's something along the lines. Again, I think they got that at Schiller's, so it'll be that'll be, still in whatever the details are that we're going to be doing in the home are going to be keeping with what was existing and what was there. That's the baseboard and casing, and there's plinth blocks that are in there as well, some of those original details that we're going to be keeping as well. Windows that we'll be refurbishing.
Mr. Lloyd, how many more do you have?
I think everything else, there's a door. Yeah, as you can tell, it's more so just to show you all that there's a lot of existing details that are in this home that we're going to keep. And then, so when we go to do the addition, we're going to be remaking the trim. I have a custom door guy that'll make the doors to match. So, anything that we need, if we're taking a door or casing out of a different part of the house when we're doing demo, we'll be saving that to reuse in the additions, in the new spaces. The other photos are really just, not good-looking kitchens and bathrooms that we're going to be replacing. So, I'm not sure. What's timing-wise? What am I done or?
You're out of time. That's
All
what
right.
I was asking.
Okay. All right. I do have some other information on, shingles. It's a shingle roof. But I think I've kind of gone through everything else that's on there. I think we've talked about the garage door and the other door materials when we talked about the approvals for the garage and the main structure. So if y'all have any other questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Great, thank you very much.
Sure.
Staff?
Do you have any questions for staff?
I actually do have a question before we start, before we go to public comment. Could you briefly just summarize what it is, since we've gone through 2 approvals? I don't want to waste any time asking questions about things that have already been approved. So, and a couple of our commissioners were not present at that. So can you just summarize real quick, really what we're trying to nail down today?
This is the Part 1 approval of the ad valorem tax exemption. So the tax exemption program is a two-part program. Part 1 is the pre-construction approval. So you're making a motion to approve this work to go into the tax exemption program. They have 1 year to complete all of the work, and then at that point, we come back with a Part 2 application they'll submit to us, and we will ensure that everything that you've approved today is done towards that approval to make sure that they have complied with the Part 1, and then they would go to City Council for 2 reads of their tax exemption covenants. That is the agreement between the owner and the city of Tampa to allow them to have that tax exemption for 10 years.
Right, and I guess my question comes into is we spent some time, the applicant spent some time going over the exterior, and like window placement, quantity of windows has already been approved. So really what we're looking at is material choices on the interior.
Your motion will be if they meet the criteria for the Part 1 tax exemption. Do you feel that their work meets the Secretary of Interior's standards for rehabilitation, which is a requirement to go into the tax exemption program? Again, we usually have this the same night of their CA approval, so it usually goes smoother, but yes, this is just the same criteria.
Okay. Did you want to add
Do
something?
you want to expand?
Expand a little bit. Since we have some newer commissioners on and we have a little bit of time this evening, I'll just kind of expand a little bit on this program because it is a wonderful program for preservation. It's an incentive that we're able to offer both based on the state legislature allowing us to offer reductions in the municipal property taxes, and then agreements with what we have with Hillsborough County and ordinances that have been passed with the city of Tampa to allow for property tax exemptions. And I kind of have maybe refined my definition of this program down, that it's not a reward for preserving your house. It's meant to offset costs for proper preservation. And that 10-year exemption that the property owners realize does sound good on the surface, but there is a very high standard in place to achieve that exemption. When you're looking at new construction in any district, including Hyde Park, you're usually evaluating with the design guidelines, and for historic structures, you also will refer to the Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation. So you've already accomplished that phase of the review with the certificates of appropriateness, determining that the work that on exterior is going to be appropriate. And now you're going to drill down to this sort of higher bar for the exemption. It's an elective program. The owners kind of know what they're getting into. They open up material selection, both exterior to a higher quality. Mr. Lloyd talked about the restoration of the windows. There's not a window replacement for historic windows that qualifies you for the preservation tax exemption. There's also a look at the interior spaces to ensure that they comply with the Secretary of the Interior standards and in a reasonable manner, as the board has typically prioritized more public interfacing spaces as opposed to more utilitarian or private spaces like bathrooms and bedrooms to allow more flexibility in those areas. But you do want to make sure that the work that's occurring is consistent with the goals and standards in place, and then also that there is a quality of the project that's worthy of investing public funds into it as well. So as Heather mentioned, there's essentially 2 phases to this: the pre-rehabilitation review, where you're looking at the work that's proposed and authorizing that work to proceed, and then the applicant will come back again when the work's complete for the post-rehabilitation review, and then show you that the work's been completed in accordance with what's been presented and any conditions that the board has stipulated. So in the staff's opinion, Heather had determined that the application was consistent. I don't know if you wanted to call out any specific areas that you wanted them to pay attention to, but generally the staff feels that the work is consistent with the Secretary and the tier standards. So we're happy to answer any questions. This is going to be a project that's going to come back to you in quite a while because, as you see, you have a lot of construction work that needs to happen. So it may be, a couple years before you see this again. So if you do have conditions, be very specific and make sure that those make it into the motion so that we can convey those in the final product.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Sure.
And then before we start with questions, just look out. Doesn't look like anybody's in the audience, but if there's anybody in the audience who would like to present, they can. Not seeing any, we will go on with Commissioner questions, and I will start on my right with Commissioner Hammond.
I have no questions.
Okay.
I have a question for staff. Does this ad valorem tax exemption require, similar to Part 1 of the national tax rebates, does it require written significance of the house to be included?
They did submit their significance statement in our staff report. We asked that they expand upon it because they did say that it was a contributing structure, but we asked that they expand upon it. I think he did mention some of the historic ownership.
Okay.
So it was slightly expanded on.
All right, that counts as written, or just because he presented that? But does written documentation need to be in his application? In his Part 1 application?
I'm not sure if that's a requirement.
Okay.
He did testify to it today.
Okay. I have one other question for the owner, or for the presenter.
Yes, sir.
The interior woodworking throughout the house has undoubtedly darkened over time and become blackened, and just because of the nature of the products that they used to. Will there be any investigation or attempt to determine what the underlying original color was?
Yeah, I mean, I think too, and I noticed this on the elevation when I had stuff printed today, it actually looks a little darker than what it is in person. But I think that it's definitely something that, they want to try to see, what that color is and recreate it. And I have some really great painters that are able to match stains and,
Okay.
yeah. So that's
Okay, and then one other question. And I don't know, I guess this was part of the original, like we were just, what Ted was asking, Commissioner Kempton was asking about. I did walk the house today, and the rear porch railing did not exist.
on the original home.
On the original house.
You can tell because of how there wasn't
at the base of the railing, it's notched into the column base.
Okay.
And there's no notch
Okay.
on those sides. So a full width, and I think we've already approved that part, but a full width stair would actually be more appropriate than a turned rail.
I don't think they have a problem with that because
Okay,
it's kind of more of a seating area as well because it's got there's a large yard on the south side. You probably noticed it when you were over there. So they plan on utilizing that for sitting spaces.
It's just a detail I noticed today because it was obvious when you look at it that notch doesn't exist on the side, like something had been removed.
Yes, sir. Understood.
Okay.
I do have to do something though because of how much we're doing to the house. It's above 30 inches, so it's a code issue as far as building is concerned.
All right. I have no other questions.
Commissioner Kitchen.
My only question is, the report mentions that about the original doors and the transom, and there's a statement in there about in the event or if one of the doors is closed up, the door can be used elsewhere. Is there some place where a door is being removed?
So there's that door. I think the one that we're talking about is. Let me pull up the floor plan because I think it's the one that's going between the living room and. Let me pull up the floor plan.
Oh, the expanded kitchen, maybe?
No, that's Yeah, so this one, it's the one going from the den to the dining room. So this window here is getting eliminated, so they're only gonna have access through the hallway here. So that door can potentially be reused. Originally, I think when I first wrote this is the latest plan. So I think when I first wrote it, this was a single door going into the breakfast nook, which I thought would have been a really cool, spot to take this and move that over. But now that they've done double doors, it may be a situation where I've got to recreate another door, or take a door from another part of the house that I can put in there to make a double door. And then I would take the transom and just make it remake the frame and make the glass wider, but then you utilize the same mechanism, so it's got that jalousie, awning type of opening. So yeah, that would be the plan for that.
Okay, I just wasn't sure where that door.
That's where it was originally planned to go here. We were just going to take it out from where it is and then just put it in here, but they wanted to have a wider opening going into that breakfast area from the den.
Mr. Lloyd,
Yes, sir.
the interior wall materials, for example, right where you were talking about, where you're
Yes, sir.
closing that wall, I'm assuming it's all plaster walls.
It is, yes, sir.
So what material are you?
So we'll use drywall. We've done some plaster stuff before, but it's getting to be it's actually harder to find craftsmen these days that can actually do a plaster finish and make it where I can't see it. So we've done probably 20, major renovations in Hyde Park, and we're pretty good with matching drywall textures. So if there needs, sometimes the plaster will have a little bit of a stipple to it. I hate to say the word orange peel because it's just gives me the heebie-jeebies, but we have a way of spraying a little bit of texture on it to give it that same look, and I mean we've been successful with it in the past.
Wait, same question with the hardware and lighting.
Mm-hmm.
And you ran out of time, so I don't
Yeah.
know. Do you have all your?
So
lighting
we actually have done one of these ad valorem tax deals on a house that we did over on Orleans a couple years ago, and we were able to reuse the same hardware that we took off of some of the doors that got moved, and we were able to. I think we only had to buy, maybe 2 or 3 pieces of hardware, and I haven't done a door count on this to see where we're at, but if we've got to add some doors and we don't have enough hardware, I mean, I've gone to Schiller's before to see what I can find, and I've actually been successful finding some of this stuff. Again, this home doesn't have a lot of crazy details, so I'm hoping that, we can track some of that hardware down, and if not, then we'll utilize it in the main spaces, and then if we need a piece of hardware for a closet door or something in a bedroom, then we just get something to match that's as close as we can find.
Okay, and I believe you have testified to the fact that your intent is to either use existing, repurpose, or to actually manufacture as opposed to buying something off the shelf. But is that correct?
100%, yes, sir.
Okay, and is there any place in the common areas, especially on the first floor, that you're foreseeing like major restoration fabrication work?
Most of the stuff on the, again, because there's not, there's no wainscoting, there's no wall paneling and things like that. I mean, we can easily recreate that, but the only thing, the kitchen will be obviously a brand new kitchen. So, I mean, that'll be, but it's not like we're putting in a, high gloss modern kitchen. I mean, it's going to be a very, muted style, shaker style doors. I mean, something, it's hard to say what you would have seen back then because they didn't really have kitchens, but, we've been very successful, tying in new looking finishes, for a nice kitchen. I mean, it'll be a modern kitchen, modern finishes, but still keeping with, we'll try, if there's crown molding in the house, we'll try to keep that same style of crown molding and put that, in around the kitchen cabinets and things like that. If there's a small detail on the doors, we can use that same detail on the cabinet doors. So.
Okay, good, thank you. And then for staff, I'm assuming the only inspection you will do is when you go to part 2, post-construction?
For the regular construction work, for the ad valorem, yes. But for construction for their building permit, there are, I believe, inspections throughout the process.
Oh, yeah, I'm not worried about that. I'm talking about for the architectural details, historic. Okay, perfect. All right, I have no other questions. Any other questions from commissioners? Okay. So with that being said, you have, the applicant has 5 more minutes if you have any additional information you would
No,
like to.
I'm all set. I mean, I've been working with Ron since 2008 and Dennis. So, I ask a lot of questions. So, even though they're not necessarily coming out to, inspect the interior of the home, if there's a question, when I know it's this situation where it's the ad valorem, we have pretty good communication as far as, what works and what doesn't. It's a whole team effort, so.
Great.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
All right, at this point, we will close the public hearing and we will start discussion, starting on the left. All right. No comments? Commissioner Prokop?
No, I think it's a pretty straightforward thing. I mentioned the stain colors because often in historic wood restoration, the stain has gone from a lovely wood color to black. And he said all the right words about, reusing door trim and moldings and whatnot, and reusing, recycling second floor wood to infill for the first floor and maintaining the whole first floor. I think it's going to be done well.
Excellent. Commissioner Hammond?
No comments.
Okay. Do we have, it sounds like discussion is an end. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the ad valorem tax exemption application, Part 1, for the plans presented at this public hearing in case number ARC Tax 24000001 for the property located at 909 South Dakota Avenue. For the rehabilitation of this property, because based on the facts in the record, the proposed project is consistent with the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation and guidelines for rehabilitating historic buildings.
I'll second the motion.
All right, so the motion is seconded. Any other comments? Not seeing any comments. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes. Good luck.
Thank you.
Then I'm looking for a motion to receive and file submitted documents and exhibits.
I move that we receive all submitted documents that were submitted in this public hearing.
Looking for a second.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Hearing's closed. Thank you, guys.
Just like that.
Wonderful day.